Grab your gear, let's hit the water. Paddle and fin, where the vibe gets hotter. Kayak fishing, straight talk, hear the stories unfold. Stop and freshwater adventures bold. With multiple hosts, yeah, the crew's all here. Casting lines in rivers, no need for fear. From the east to the west, we're making waves. Join the tournament hype, see how it raves. Paddle and fin, we're on the go. From the lakes to the oceans, let the good times flow. Fishing tales and triumphs will paint the scene. Give reviews and profiles, you know what we mean. Bring special guests, every episode shines. This is kayak fishing, where the world aligns.
What is going on, everybody? I'm your host, Adam Pross, and I welcome you to another episode of the River Run Podcast. And this is Down the Scupper Hole. That's right. We're doing a Down the Scupper Hole episode where we are just going to go down the scupper hole on chatterbait fishing for river smallmouth. I thought this would be a fun topic only because I will always have one in my tackle box with me when I'm out there. Or if not, it's already tied on. So, chatterbait fishing, it's always been one of those baits that I truly enjoy. And I, even from the first time I've thrown one, it was one of those baits that just seemed to never leave. It probably got as much hype as, the Whopper Ploppers and all that. But yeah, no. My guest tonight is Mr. Chatter Bradley Hicks. He is, he is down in Ohio, always throwing a chatterbait and whatnot. So, dude, like, what is going on?
Not much. I gotta say that intro, the punk music intro, that was sick.
Yeah, you like that, eh? We can thank John Rapp for that. Like, he's taken even in his own the Rusty Hook there, he has a pretty intense intro, which I was like really digging. And I messaged him like, yo, like, where'd you come up with this intro? Like, I really like the music as much as I used to love the music intro for the Catch podcast. That was always like that intro. I was like, man, first time I heard that, I was like, that's badass. And if you're like a metal person, like you like hardcore, you like, any screaming music, that was definitely for it. So yeah, like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, you sat here many times, the two of us, doing podcasts back in the day here. And now, life's always taken us different routes and whatnot. So like, I always wanted to bring you back on. You guys did, you and Matt were on season 1, and now we're back into season 3. So like, what's new and shaking with you, dude?
Well, as you can see, I'm in a nice, beautiful pink room here, which I painted for my new podcast room. No, I'm just joking.
Are you doing like a baby podcast now, or like?
Where we talk about dad things. No, I'm just joking.
Dude, you want to talk? You want like we can go get kids and put the kids in the podcast too. Like new parent podcast, maybe.
No. We welcomed our new daughter into the world back in September, so I've just been doing the dad thing. I've fished, a handful of times since then, throughout the fall. I haven't really been fishing since December. It's just been really cold here, and I just haven't had the motivation to get out.
Oh, dude, it's, it is what it is, like, I think for whether you live in the north or you're in the south, like it is like been a weird winter, for cold weather, snow, and weather phenomenons here that keep going on.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah,
snow's
no,
been nuts here.
yeah, and you're down in Ohio, and we were just talking about this for for me up here, you get those real cold snaps, and we go into -20, -30, feels like 40. Now you're down there, and you're getting -10, but that's
Mhm.
still that is not enjoyable weather. And I'm not a winter person. As much as I enjoy snowboarding and snowshoeing and all that, I am not a winter person. I like the hot, humid weather, summer weather. So,
Mhm.
yeah, the only thing I do find is wintertime, you don't get as many headaches. Do you find that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Weird, eh? But then, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm in this last month of not many headaches, and then it'll start right back up again where it's like
Dude.
March hits and it's all over the place, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, sinuses, man. I hate it. Drives me nuts.
Those yeah. And I remember back in December, I suffered a wicked head cold, and I thought for sure I had a sinus infection or something, because I had it must have been years of just not having a head cold that just instantly caught up with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, no, but dude, I'm super stoked to have you here because Chatter Brad is always one of those people that I'm always seeing posting about chatterbaits and
It's
even in
Bratterbait.
oh, is it Bratterbait or Chatterbait we could go on
Bratter Bratterbait
Bratterbait.
came from Ryan, Milford, so it
Oh,
always stuck, and I thought it was funny.
it's totally stuck. I wonder when Z-Man's coming out with one of your baits there.
I don't
Um,
know. I need to get a hold of Glenn.
yeah,
Like, come on, Glenn.
Glenn, listening, this is a prime opportunity here. Um, but yeah, no, like just I don't know if that's just a favorite type of lure or whatnot, presentation for a reaction bait. Um, Chatterbait for me is just something that I always have tied on.
Mhm.
And maybe people might say, "Oh, you can't throw it in this situation." You can't but I just always, and I've even gone down and downsized to the Z-Man Mini Max, and I've
Mhm.
thrown that on spinning gear just certain times a year where I can really skip, because I can skip better with spinning than I can with casting. But yeah, no, chatterbait for me is yeah, it is always tied on when I'm out there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, same here. Well, it depends. Like if I'm on the river and the river's clear, I don't have one tied on. But when the river's muddy, that is basically almost all I throw. I'll have a spinnerbait too, but I throw the chatterbait in those conditions. When I go to the lake though, I always have one tied on. I don't know why. They always bite it though, so it's
um,
like the chatterbait is one of those baits where I have like me myself, I always have to keep moving, so it fits me perfectly. You know, chuck and wind, cover a lot of water. That's how I like to fish.
I think the one thing that got me about the chatterbait was it was a bait that I actually felt like I could, when I was throwing it, you can feel it. You know what I mean? You can,
Hmm.
at the moment you start to turn that thing, or by the second, third, you kind of give it a couple, and boom, that thing's going through the water. And for me, it was okay. I can actually, I was starting to feel it, and then the more I would bounce it off the bottom or it hit something, you know what I mean? I started to really kind of understand what it was actually doing underneath the water.
Hmm.
And yeah, and since then, and obviously chatterbaits have there's many different brands of chatterbaits. There's some many jackhammer, 25 and up pricing, down to the Evo. And I'll be honest with you, it was a bait that I've tried all sorts of ones. Now, have I stuck with one in since? It's the Evo seems to I really like the Evo, not just for the price point, but I
Hmm.
really like it's actually vibration reaction within the water. Um, but yeah, it was one of those and you could really go down the price point on these, because you can, I've bought in some, even from the dollar store that are like, the cheapest ones you could find, and I'll give it to you, like they still work, like they do. They may not have the strongest hooks, and but yeah, no, I really enjoy. So I gotta ask then, do you have a favorite chatterbait? Like, do you have a one that you're kind of like you're sold on, or is it you're kind of still searching for that perfect one?
Lately I've been using the Elite Evo, just for the same reason you said. It's the cost thing. I've fished the jackhammer hard. I fished the Evo hard. I can't really tell a difference between the two. I mean, I've had good luck on both of them. So, and
And
ever since Z-Man took away the discount for the pro guys on the team, they took that discount away because people were abusing it. I started to buy the Evos, and I'm just like, all right, I really like this one. This feels good. It looks almost identical. Even the tungsten version of it is
yeah,
really good.
I haven't tried the tungsten version out yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But I will say I did have it was a white jackhammer, and then I had a white Evo.
hmm
And I'll be honest with you, I I personally didn't really notice a difference.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I think it's just marketing hype, man. People fall into that trap.
Like and maybe and if anybody from Z-Man wants to jump in on this topic of what like the real difference is, that would be amazing. Like I would really like to know where these all fall, because I've heard of, there's other ones too, the CFLs and whatnot. But no, the Evo, like I just thought was like that price point, you still get the same array of colors throughout. So yeah, it's definitely one of those. But the jackhammer, I remember when the jackhammer when it came out, and I was like, yeah, I was like, oh sweet, like I'll definitely buy one of those. And I for sure was like, please don't lose this thing on the first cast,
Yeah, I've lost so many of them, dude. It's
Oh,
ridiculous. No, but
and yeah,
the other thing I like about the Evo is the epoxy blade. Like that
yes.
painted blade does not chip. It's
I
nice.
and that's funny you mentioned that, because I have thrown, in my chatterbait box, I have a couple others that are, I have other brands or whatever, and they work great, but the paint just it don't stick. Like you bounce that thing off the bottom, smack it off of
Mhm,
rocks, whatnot, and you start to see like blades chipping, the heads are chipping,
dude.
and that pain is gone. And like, yeah, whatever, you could probably touch it up, here or there. But do you like the paint? Like, what about blades? Like, because you just brought up the epoxy blade. Like,
Mhm,
do you like the epoxy blade versus like a actual like gold blade or like a silver blade? You know what I mean?
mhm. Absolutely. Like I fish a lot of black and blue chatterbaits, so all as you know, all of them come with a black blade anyway. I just prefer that. Like I've tried silver and gold and stuff in my rivers, and I don't know. I don't seems like I don't have the amount of luck I do as one with a all black painted blade with a black skirt and everything. I think it just kind of like camouflages it, like the whole
Okay.
bait itself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Black and
I feel
blue.
like the water clarity has a lot to do with it though too, because if you're fishing clearer water, I think you need to downsize that blade a lot. So
Okay.
I think that's the reason why I get the Mini Max and I use that in clearer water, and I tend to use a gold blade in that situation.
Yeah, so I've thrown both, like, so the Mini Max I have three colors in the Mini Max. I have black and blue, the white chartreuse,
That's a
and
good one.
then just straight green pumpkin.
Yeah.
And I found in the clear in my rivers that I fish, the white and chartreuse does really well in clear water.
hmm
There was another one too. It was called the color was spot remover, I believe it's called. Or
Is that
you,
the white and gray one?
Yeah, it's like a white and gray.
Yep.
You know, to me, it has that very like bait fish kind of silhouette with those colors and whatnot.
Mhm.
That was another one that I really had a lot of luck with in clear water. And then obviously I do have another one that is, now this is a different brand though, but it is in dirty water. It's just like a straight black, and
Mhm.
it is like black blade, black skirt, and I'll usually on the back of that I'll usually put like a bat wings, and I'm telling you, like that, it just thumps like the way it silhouettes through the water, especially like in a dirty water situation. But going back, the Mini Max is like it's one of my favorites. Like, and
Mhm.
it produces fish like for such a small little chatterbait, you know what I mean? And like you can downsize your gear too, like on how you throw it, you know, compared to, you know, a full size Evo being in the 3/8 to half ounce to whatever. Like I've downsized to throwing these, and my sizing on this is a quarter ounce. I believe that's the smallest that the Mini Max comes in for weight size, I believe. And that there, and I'll throw that on spinning just because I can skip that real quick underneath, you know, overhanging trees and limbs and whatnot and
Mhm.
logs, whatever. And it gets in there.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know
It
if I've ever thrown one that well lightweight, but usually my mini max comes out when I run out of evos or something. If I lose all my evos, I pull the mini max out.
in the backup, eh?
Yeah,
No,
you
that's
gotta have
the
some backups.
Oh, you do. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, no, like it really depends. I don't know, for me, like when it comes to, you know, whether I'm gonna go out there with the start with the Evo, or I always seem like, I don't know, I kind of use that same philosophy that like Jeff Little had, that, you know, you kind of go out there and you're gonna begin to go through the uh progress of aggression, yeah, progress of aggression. So you start, you know, with the loudest, biggest, and so I'd always start with, you know, the Evo, and
Hmm.
then usually I stick around, you know, 3/8, and I would start with that, with, you know, a larger size trailer, and I would just begin to wind through that. And if that wasn't working, you know, I'd kind of dial it down and keep dialing and keep dialing. And but I always found like that Mini Max, like it just on spinning gear, like it's nothing crazy. Like it's like, you know, 7 foot medium, you know, I go with
Yeah,
moderate fast on that, but with 20 pound braid, and, you know, 7 foot, I think the rod's 7 foot two actually. And yeah, and it's trailer wise, you know, I kind of flip flop everywhere. But yeah, no, for me, that's kind of how I stick through it. Um,
yeah. Skipping a chatterbait's fun, dude. I really enjoy doing that when the river's up and muddy. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it was something that, like, I'll be honest with you, like, I got into it because I used to skip a Senko, and I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
cool."
Yep.
And then I was like, when I got my hands on the Mini Max, I was like, "Well," I was like, "This, like, I could, like, why can't you, like, just like a little finesse jig, but, like, you know, it's quarter ounce, but, like, you know, could you skip it?" And I was like, give this a try." So I go out there and, you know, lose a couple or get hung up, but, like, in the end, like, I I'm just not that talented with a with a with a bait caster. Then
Yeah, dude, it's
more
hard.
it
Hard,
is. And
hard with a bait caster.
it sucks because if you, depending on what kind of line you fish your chatterbaits on, it's easy to, you know, really unravel your bait caster. And if you're fishing an expensive line, you know, that tends to not always be easy to pull out.
I feel like all fishing lines expensive anymore, like
Well,
fluoro, braid.
what do you like when you get into that? I like what, so before we start throwing these chatterbaits, what's your, like, your ideal setup for a chatterbait?
So I have two chatterbait rods. All my rods are like multi-use, but I have two rods that I throw it on. They're both the same length, 7'4", medium heavy, fast Douglas LRS rods.
Oh yeah.
Um, they're really they're really heavy duty feeling. Just the way I'm able to set the hook with that thing just feels really nice. I know a lot of people use moderate rods for chatterbaits. I never did like it. I've used moderate glass rod before with them, and just wasn't my thing. I feel like setting the hook on it's just like floppy.
It will. So I had a St. Croix Mojo glass rod, and I'm not kidding. Like you could feel anything through that thing. Like you
Hmm.
feel like it was retarded. But it's true though. Like when you think of like that hook set was absolutely silly. Like how far you could actually send it because that rod, it's a moderate action. Like it would just the whole rod would just flex. Like
Yeah, I don't like that.
and
It feels weird.
it depends because not everybody enjoys that for like a single hook presentation. You know what I mean? Most
Hmm.
people might actually want to go maybe more with a moderate fast rod or even a fast or even an extra fast rod, depending on what you like. You know,
Hmm.
I sit more on I prefer moderate fast when it comes to single hook presentations, and
Hmm.
that is definitely um where it is for me. 7 foot. The one rod that I use it for chatterbaits is a 7 foot Legend tournament rod by St. Croix. It's their 7 foot medium heavy, moderate fast.
Hmm.
And it's called the Sweeper spinnerbait rod. And it
St.
has,
Croix makes it.
yeah,
I don't know if I've seen that one.
yeah, so it's like it's a spinnerbait rod, I guess you could say, or just it's a moderate fast rod. You can throw a lot with moderate fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and to me, I really enjoy it. Now last year, I also got a 7.5. Um, it's an iRod Genesis. It's the Snyder Sniper rod, and
Oh yeah.
that thing, wow. Yeah, that's actually a moderate rod, and I'm not kidding. Like you can chuck just about any. It's a great search bait rod. So like anything that you're gonna throw, it is absolutely perfect for that. And I'm not kidding. Like it it's awesome. Like it is incredible just for the length that you can throw. And also I've tried all sorts of different baits with it, but yeah, I was like, I was throwing anything from buzz baits to, oh god, like big whopper floppers down to chatterbaits, spinner baits,
Hmm.
any like top water walking the dog type of bait. I was 5 inch, 6 inch baits, just flopping those back and forth. Yeah, like I was wake baits, like yeah, no, like I was like I took Russ Snyder's advice when we were chatting about rods, and he's like, "Yeah, this one to consider." And because I already had another one by iRod, and I was like, "Yeah," I was pretty happy about that. But no, 7 foot St. Croix medium heavy is the moderate fast is where it sits for me. The Sweeper spinnerbait rod. I've had that rod now for I don't know, like three years or so. I don't know if they make that model anymore, but yeah, it was definitely worth it to to add to the collection. So what about what do you prefer, like for high gear ratios, low? Like what are we talking here for reels?
Probably mid range. I like anything probably from. I don't even know what my rods are now. I always forget. Or reels, sorry. I think they're 6'3" to 7'2", if that sounds right.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm using one of them is a Bantam MGL and the other one is a Metanium MGL. So
Now
uh,
you definitely enjoy your MGL reels, hey?
oh my goodness. They're
Like,
amazing. I love them.
which one? Okay, so would you say, like, because I've had it was the which one? The Canium MGL. I've
Yep.
had the Corrado MGL. Now I really like the Corrado MGL. Like, I gotta
Mhm.
say, like, that was a pretty smooth, smooth reel.
You can't go
Now,
wrong with the Corrado, dude. They're just like
yeah,
it's a
you,
classic.
and it's the like, I don't know. I was always big on the MGL. Like, I really like
Mhm.
that combo in it. Like, to me, I did not like the DC. I did not have time for that, you know.
Yeah.
The another favorite was the Scorpion MGL.
Yeah, I had one of those for a while. I ended up selling it to get my Bantam.
I think the JDM model, the red one, that
Mhm.
red,
That's
that
what I
was
had.
absolute favorite when it
Yeah.
came down to it. The Bantam, I could see the Bantam being quite a
Oh, dude,
popular one to have.
it is a tank of a reel. It's heavy just because I think it's all aluminum. Like the whole body is aluminum, but it feels so good when you cast it. It casts so far. I mean, oh, dude, once you get that thing dialed in, you just
Um,
don't want to put it down.
you know what? I still, to this day, I still use the Lose. I use quantum reels,
Mhm.
whatever needs to be done. But I'll tell you this right now: the JDM reels through Shimano is like, they they always gonna hold a special spot in my heart.
Oh yeah,
Man, they are
even
just so smooth. Like,
even Daiwa makes really good JDM stuff. Matt let me use his Zillion before, and I was just like, holy crap, dude, this is just as good as my Shimano's.
and well, I believe Daiwa is also Japanese too, right? So,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that, like, yeah, but it's funny, you start to see more and more of the JDM market being, not recognized, but showing up throughout social media, like more people that are like getting into these markets, and talking about the reels, and not just the reels but the baits. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, no. So
Uh,
okay, so we got a rods, reels. Okay, so my end, I'll flip. So if I'll either go slow or I'm going to go fast. But because I don't always want to have a slow reel on, you can't slow down a slow reel, but you can speed it up. No, you can't. In the end, I found one of the biggest things that I enjoy is actually having a high gear ratio, because at the end of the day, I can still slow that down if I need to, but at the same time, it allows me to just not horse fish in, but pick that slack up real quick when I know I have fishing, get it in and be done with it. Like, that's where that 8-to-1 gear ratio is usually where I sit. 7 to 5 to 1 is not bad.
mhm.
But this is only my personal preference here. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I just like to in and out and let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm the same way. If anybody's ever seen my videos on Instagram, it's like, boom, set the hook hard, like I said I like to do with my fast rods, and then get them in quick.
Yeah, I, I don't know. Like, I've played around with a few of them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I always seem to go back to that 8-to-1 gear ratio.
Mhm.
Quicker the better.
I don't
But
even know if I have an 8-to-1.
for me,
Uh, yeah, I do. I got one for my glide bait setup.
see, and this was just like an old frog reel that I had. That I kind of had kicking around, and I was like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
it works well too for like jigs and whatnot. And it was originally, it was off of a flipping frog setup that I had. I like to have, I don't really need a rod for everything. So I'm one of those that I enjoy, like multi-purpose rods. You know what I mean? Like to
Yeah.
me, that's the way to go because I find I don't need to also go out with, 500,000 rods here, like for to
Dude,
go.
I have
Yeah.
6 setups total, and each one is multi-use rod. Like I can do 5 different things with each rod,
Yeah,
and that's
like,
all I need.
and I think it's one of those things that the more you get into it, I don't know. I shouldn't say the more you get into it, but the more you begin to notice how much you're going out with, and that was one of the things I noticed is that like I, a couple of years ago, I was like, why am I going out with this much stuff? Like this is like
Yeah.
more. This is more weight. This is like more rods that are having like, and then I look back there and I'm like, I'm not even using half of them. And then I'm like, I look at my in my crate and I'm like, I don't even like why am I going out with all these Plano boxes? Like I don't need this. And like I literally go out with like, 3 rods and
Hmm.
I'll go out with like 2 3600 Plano boxes here and I will be Jody Queen. How are you doing tonight?
Man,
Oh,
you wouldn't believe
no,
even I've had. I tell you, traffic in Orlando is horrible. I
oh
wouldn't have made it
no.
anyway. I was sitting about a half a block from here for about 15 minutes at about 7:30 anyway. So I wouldn't have made it anyway. So I'm
No,
so sorry, dude.
hey, dude, do not worry about it. Everybody's got things going on these days, and it is one of those things that I completely understand. And you know what? I'm just appreciated that you can take some time to come on down the River Run podcast. Yeah, no, Jody Queen. I thought you were definitely a perfect fit for this conversation because right now, Brad and I are going down the topic of chatterbaits for river smallmouth fishing. And as I remember seeing many of your posts on Instagram and Facebook, and even on YouTube, your passion for chatterbaits and whatnot. So join in, man. Like if
Yeah.
why I asked Brad, I said, like, why chatterbaits? What is it with chatterbaits for you that, seem to be always
Yeah.
tied on your boat?
Man, I mean, besides the versatility, I mean, you can make them look like any of their forage that they feed on. I mean, crawdads, sucker chubs. I mean, all the colors that you use. I mean, they look like everything. But they're just the right size. They make a good noise, and the smallmouth love them. I mean, bumping them off rocks, and it just elicits that strike. They just run and they don't hang up hardly if you're fishing those rocky rivers, and you can cover a lot of territory with them. Big long casts in clear water. I use them on the Susky a lot. I use them on the New River a lot. But they're just a good all round bait. They definitely love them. I've been using the baby jack lately too, and that smaller size. The baby jack actually has a big hook on it. It's a smaller profile, but it actually has a nice big hook on it, and I've been doing really well with it too.
So Brad and I were chatting about like our favorites here, and we kind of were both talking about the Evo. The Evo, was one that when the jackhammer came out, and then the price point, and then you looked at the Evo, and the Evo was like, and I've thrown both, and I'm maybe Z-Man, like I said, earlier, that could tell me the honest difference in the bait, but for me, I was like, I really like the Evo. And then when the Mini Max came out, I really liked that small profile of that bait. And it became the point where I would even dial it down even further, and I would find the smallest one that I could get, which I believe is the 1/4 ounce. and I would throw the 1/4 ounce on spinning gear, and I would use that mostly for skipping and whatnot. But I could throw it with all sorts of different trailers on it. But it became that smaller profile that made it one of those baits that just became popular. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, that goes hand in hand with what I was talking about with the baby jack. It's got a smaller profile, but it's got a little bigger hook. And one of the things the problems I was having with the Mini Max was I was pulling the hooks out of the mouth. I wasn't getting a good hookup with them because I was throwing them for largemouth also.
Okay, yeah.
And it was kind of just skin hooking them and just pulling out. And I think the baby jack actually covers that problem well. It fixed it. My hookups are a lot better with it. But and the price range on the Evos, I catch just as much. I threw an Evo all day today.
Okay,
that's where we're down here. We're in Orlando, in Leesburg, pre-fishing for the TKS right now, which is this upcoming weekend. So that's where I've been all day. So
and pre-fishing went well today. Like it dialing it in. Like
I found a pattern with the jackhammer with the Evo, and I caught small fish, but I found fish. So I've got at least something I can go to. Tomorrow I'm going to try a different lake and see if I can get my size to go up a little bit.
And when is that actually? When is that tournament? Is that on?
That is Saturday and Sunday coming up.
Ooh. Okay, so yeah, this episode. So if you got any juice to spill, this episode will not be released by then. So you don't need to worry about that. It's all good here.
Yeah, man. I've always been free with my info. I have literally given baits to competitors while I was on the water if they were having a bad time. Yeah, I love to see people catch fish, and it hasn't really hurt me, all that much. So I just, the info is out there. I hope everybody catches fish. That's just the way I look at it.
No,
have you been throwing the Evos, Brad?
Oh yeah, we were just talking about it a little bit ago. I said the Evo, the jackhammer, just like you said, I can't really tell a difference between the two. So that's what I fish.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I like about the Evos are, one comes in a tungsten, of course. That tungsten has a little different sound than the regular jackhammer.
Okay.
Now, I used to buy before they released the Evo tungsten, you had to order them from Japan. You could get tungsten chatterbaits from Japan, and that's where I got onto the tungsten heads, and they got just a little different sound to them. So, something
more
different.
dense sound.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more like a higher tinny. I think a lead has a dull thud to it.
Yeah.
And I think that the sound that the tungsten makes is a little sharper, and
like a ting sound when you think about it. Yeah.
I mean, they both work. So I don't know. Maybe sometimes if you're throwing in, every lake down here every fish in these lakes down here have had a jackhammer thrown at them up until now. And maybe that little different sound is the difference in getting one to hit, or it's just something different. But yeah, I'm with Brad on that. Man, I really can't tell a big deal. I catch just as many fish on either one of them.
Yeah, I told Adam I think it was more marketing hype than anything when the jackhammer came out.
Yeah, I think. Now I will say this: I have thrown the slobber knocker. I have thrown, and I've caught fish on the slobber knocker.
That's by Berkeley, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I threw before that. I threw the what was the one that had the funny shaped blade on them? Starts with a P. California.
Picasso.
The what? Picasso. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I started with, and I caught fish on those too. But when the jackhammer came out, the way the blade style and to the weight and the size of the head ratio, it's just got a different sound to it. It's just got a totally different sound, and whatever that they hit on right there, it just, I caught so much more fish on that on the jackhammer than I did the other two, for whatever reason. It's got to be something in the design.
I think I was going to say the design of it, with Z-Man's patent of the blade just being connected directly to the head rather than like a split ring like Picasso. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think that if you notice those jackhammers, after you use them for a while, you can see where that blade rocks back and forth and hits each side of that head as it's coming through the water. So I mean, it'll wear it. And man, I go through them. I throw them so much. I mean, it's nothing for me to throw. I mean, 1,000 casts a day is a medium day for me with a jackhammer if I'm on a jackhammer bite. So yeah, it's just one after another. I'll even, if they're hitting it really well, they don't seem to be real spooky, I'll tighten up to the bank or whatever kind of structure or that I'm fishing. I'll tighten up to it so I can make more casts. You know, I'll make a shorter cast and I can get more casts in. And if they're really hitting really well, it's just I'll spend all day just underhand tossing it and reel it, toss and reel it, toss and reel it, toss and reel it.
Yep.
You know, on those really good days. But yeah, the more time you got that in the strike zone, that's where your fish, that's where your fish are going to come from. So anything I can do to create more time for that bait to be in the water, the better off I am. So if I can make shorter casts, I will. There's just a lot that goes into it. I mean, that helps with your time management and tournaments. And I mean, you get more casts in, I mean, you're going to catch more fish. Usually it's the law of averages.
Yep.
It only should work that way. You know what I mean? Like if you're taking all the tools and putting it all in the right directions, and there should be a reward to this. You know what I mean? Like you should be patenting it down that you are catching. I do think though, Brad, you brought up a really good point. When you talk about, and like Jody, you said it too, that blade being connected right to the actual head where there is no actual like split ring there. I think that makes a huge difference in the actual thump that it goes through that water and the amount of water vibration it creates than having almost kind of like that split ring, which is acting almost like a sound insulator. You know what I mean? Like it's absorbing some of that where it's not allowing it to absorb. It's going right through. Right. And maybe that's the secret to it all.
They got it right with it. I just love the feeling of the bait too. I mean, you can always feel that thump. When you're throwing it out, that bait's doing something. When you feel it, it's doing something. And the startup because of that blade design, the startup is a lot faster for the jackhammers and the Evos. It seems like to me, I don't have to jerk to get them started. As soon as they hit the water and I crank, that blade is moving, and I get a lot of strikes off that initial plunge. That bait into the waters because that first crank, I'll get a lot of fish that way. Just because that blade is starting up so quickly.
It was one of those. I said this to Brad earlier. The one bait that I always, when I started fishing, I loved to throw. It was the chatterbait because, like, I knew I was doing something right because the moment you started to crank it, the moment it started to thump through the water, you were doing something. But the moment it started to feel different, whether it was a fish pulling it or you're having to, snake it through the grass, the weeds, whatever it is. You hit the bottom, you felt it, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those baits that like you said, Jody, like it just, to me, it was like, I knew what you could feel it. It wasn't like one of those baits where you're like, I'm not really sure what's going on down there right now. Like it's, chatterbait.
It's a great contingency bait too for crankbaits and spinner baits. When I'm throwing a spinner bait, I love to throw spinner bait in dirty water. But I don't throw spinnerbait as much as I used to because of the chatterbait. I don't
Yeah,
throw
same.
crankbait as much as I used. I used to crankbait a lot, and
Really?
I don't throw crankbait as much unless I'm, if I'm on a body of water where I need to get that bait down deep, I'll pull out the Spro rock crawlers, and bust
Oh,
them
yeah.
off across the
Yeah.
bottom. Man, that's another great bait for smallmouth too. Them smallmouth love them Spros.
When you were talking about, when you was just looking at chatterbaits right now, and you just saying, spinnerbait, I don't really throw a spinnerbait like I used to, or crankbait.
Yeah.
You're not the only person saying that. This
Yeah.
is quite a common thing to hear, is that, like,
Really?
these baits, if you look at like your tackle room
Right.
or your garage or whatever, and you look at the baits that you aren't throwing,
Yeah.
it's impressive that there's this one bait that's it's a jig with a blade on it.
Yeah.
That's replaced, spinner baits, which, could have anywhere from a single blade to three
Right.
blades on it.
Yeah.
Or, even like these crankbaits that you used to throw all the time. And it's in some ways, like, to me, it doesn't make sense, because, like, well, why wouldn't you throw the crankbait? Crankbait has, like, how many points does a crankbait have on it? Where you could, okay, I kind of makes sense. Kind of figured it with the spinnerbait, because it's a single hook presentation there, unless you had a trailer hook to it. But I always kind of wondered that, but for whatever reason, that chatterbait just seems to do it a different way, that, it attracts more fish. And when you start to get into those river systems where you might have thrown a spinnerbait or a crankbait, the Evo, Mini Max, whatever one it is for you, the Baby Jack, however it comes down to it, that seems to be the one that's always tied on,
Yeah, and when it comes to the crankbaits, man, you got the 1.5s, the 2.5s, you got 2 to 4, you got a 4 to 8, you got an 8 to 12, you got all those things, and after a while, man, if you looked at my crankbait boxes at the house, I've got hundreds of crankbaits where I might have 15 or 20 chatterbaits, and I'm still catching the same amount of fish. So So in the long run, are the chatterbaits cheaper if you're a crankbait guy? I don't know. It kind of evens itself out, doesn't it?
Not to mention the hookup ratio with a chatterbait too over a crankbait.
Right.
That's why I don't throw them.
Yeah. Good point, man. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I have lost some monsters on crankbaits, man. And how do they slip 2 treble hooks? If you get that thing in the bottom of the boat, it's going to get hung in your boot. It's going to get hung on your seat. It's going to get hung on everything in your boat. But that fish can hit it and it can throw it. I just don't understand it. It's crazy.
It's so true, though, because I remember many times where I've hooked a fish and I've gotten it into the net, and then I spent more time getting it out of my net than actually pulling it out of the fish. And somehow the fish seems to not get it. I don't get it.
That's another thing, man. Getting it in the net, and you know what? You pretty much got to use a net.
Yes.
Yeah. Especially if you got a big one, you don't want to lose him. Those hooks are in your net. That they're in, like I say, everything in the boat. They grab everything in the boat. And as sticky as the hooks are nowadays,
Oh yeah.
Man, those mega bass hooks on them jerk baits.
Oh yeah, the reverse barbs.
Yeah, man, those things are so sharp. I can look at them and get stuck by them. They're sharp.
Yep.
No, it's and it's true though. Like, when you look at the advancements of, when you talk about chatterbaits and how far they've come, and now you got hooks, the reverse barbs on it. But either way, they're just getting sharper and sharper.
Yeah.
So Brad and I were chatting about setups, like when it came to setups for chatterbaits, and Brad had mentioned that he generally runs 2. I have a setup that I run for chatterbaits, and a spinning setup that I'll use. I prefer like a moderate fast medium to, a moderate fast, medium heavy. And Brad was on the medium heavy fast action 7.4s, I believe they were, right, Brad? LRS setups by Douglas.
Yep.
So what do you prefer? Like, where do you stand on this?
I'm with Brad on that one. Yeah, I throw a medium heavy fast. I throw the chattergrass rod. Corey Dreyer and I designed that rod for caching, and it took us 2 years to get that rod right because we wanted a rod for heavy grass, because I don't care how thick grass is, I'm throwing a chatterbait in.
Oh, same here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But the whole thing about fishing that heavy grass, it's not for a glass rod. It's not for the original chatterbait rods that they come out with, that's got that parabolic, it's just not made for that. I mean, those are good rods in their own right, in their own scenarios. But what you want is the way we designed that rod was about 18 inches down, you get some serious backbone that kicks in, but you got a nice playful tip on it, forgiving tip on it until it hits that certain point. And what happens is when you're fishing that heavy grass and you're cranking it and you're always wanting to tick that grass, that when it hangs up, instead of pulling on it and yanking on it, you just keep reeling and let that rod load up. And once it hits that real stiff backbone in that rod, it'll pop that bait loose a lot of times. So you're not, in the course of a day, if you're making, 1,000 casts a day or 1,500 casts a day, and you're stuck in the junk just doing this all day and yanking stuff off, not only are you creating a lot of fatigue for yourself over the course of the day, but you're wasting that cast. So you want a rod that's going to jerk that bait free. And if you have to, if it doesn't reel clean, once it loads that tip up, if it doesn't reel clean, it doesn't take much to just pop it loose when your rod is set up that way. So yeah, those actions and weights I agree with Brad on that. If I'm fishing rocks or something else, open water or something like that, the glass rods are fine for it, but I'm just used to it now, and I use it for every scenario. That chattergrass rod.
My one of my very first chatterbait rods that I decided to go with was actually a Cashin Elite worm and jig rod, which was a 7'3" medium heavy rod, and I think it went from you could throw anywhere from 3/8 to an ounce on it, or maybe it was up to 3/4. I think it was. And I love that rod. It was just the handle, that style of handle that it had on it. It was for chatterbaits. If it was ever intended for it, it was a jig and worm rod. It was great.
Yeah, my last tournament down here was the Bassmasters, and it was on Kissimmee, and I didn't have my extra chattergrass rod with me, and I used the Cashin worm and jig rod as my second rod with a second chatterbait on it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Those were good rods. Yeah, you can use them for that.
Yeah. It was
close.
Yeah, it was, and to be honest with you, I had never actually come into buying this thing at a store. I had bought this off of somebody on, I think it was just a Facebook Marketplace type of thing years ago. And then, it's still to this day, I remember that as just my favorite chatterbait rod out of all of them that I own. But that length too, that 7'3", length is just, I don't know, when you're making big casts, it's just, it's a great length. 7'4" is another, a 7'5", getting in there too, you can make some mega casts with stuff like that. Now, reel setup, are you on the do you kind of flip flop, or do you stick with a certain gear ratio that you like to run your chatterbaits on?
Well, it's funny you should say that. What was happening I like to cover a lot of water, and I cover a lot of water fairly quickly. And me and Abby Abendanza, we do the same thing. And so I'm constantly moving. And what was happening was I was throwing this past year. I was throwing a 7.5-1, and at the end of the day, man, we're just cranking. So this year, I decided to go with a 9-1. I've got the Cast King Mega Jaws in a 9-1, and I've only used it. This will be the second tournament, but I've used it fairly regularly for the past 2 months, and I really like it because the amount of line pickup when you're moving and you're constantly running down the bank, or you're constantly moving around a grass bed or whatever, the line pickup is quick enough to where you don't have to bear down on it. You don't have to. You can actually control that bait a lot better with a 9-1 if you're moving. And it's just at the end of the day, I'm not nearly as tired. But it's working really well so far. But this is the first year I've thrown a 9-1 with it. Now I used to throw an 8-3. But you got to be careful with these reels because, I mean, the gear ratios that are stated on these reels sometimes they can be kind of misleading because of spool size, or I don't know what causes it, but like an 8-1 Cast King might be actually slower than a 7.5. Ruse. You might get 29 inch line pickup on one, and then you might get 32 or 34 on the other, and it's, I mean, it might be reel handle size. I don't know, but if you look
different size gears inside, maybe.
It's something. When you're talking gear ratio, you're just talking how many revolutions that spool makes per turn.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really mean you need to look at line pickup.
Yeah, there's not an industry standard.
Right. Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And that is a good point that you brought up too when you talk about reels like that. Like, it's true. Like it's so true in that idea that there are brands that, are like high gear ratio, line pickup. But when you actually look at the line pickup in inches and you compare it to another one, it's true. Like there's never the same. There is no real industry standard. It's just based off of what their actual reel is, or company reel, whatnot is being picked up. The other person that I had on the podcast last season was Ryan Parker. Brad knows who he is. And he actually is another one that spoke about the Mega Jaws by Cast King. And he said the same thing. It's just one of those reels that, like, for picking up line, like it is. And he's had nothing but good things to say about it, which, when you think of some reels, I'm sure I haven't really used a lot of them, so I can't really comment on it, but it's one of those things I didn't really expect to hear that from, because Brad, when you think of like, the high end stuff, like Daiwas and Shimano's and God knows what else is in there, you think of the high gear ratio pickup of that, like to hear that, that's probably like, I don't know what the retail is on that. Maybe, $150 reel, let's say, if that.
I used to run the Lew's Pro TI tournament Pro TIs, and they're $400 a pop. And but I will say this about those reels: I was getting a good solid 2 years out of them as a chatterbait reel. If one lasts me for a year, that's a good reel, because I can't. Yeah, they just don't hold up, man. If you're making that many casts a day, if you're on the water 250 days a year and you're fishing, 25 tournaments a season, and you're pre-fishing a week before each one of them. I mean, and your main bait is a chatterbait, you're putting that reel through some really, really rough stuff. So I've yet, so far the Cast King is held up really well, but like I say, I've only thrown it for 2 months. So the verdict's still out on it. I'll see where it lands me at the end of the year. If it, like I say, if it lasts me for a year, it's a keeper for $139. Man, you can't beat that.
Wow.
It casts really good, and it seems to be performing well so far. So we'll see at the end of the season. I'll do a review on it and give it a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, this is why I thought you'd be just a fantastic guest for talking chatterbaits, because when you're throwing them for that long and that many days out of the year, I have to say, like, you're definitely going to be up there on the podium for this.
But I'll tell you something else. A lot of people don't realize too. If you're throwing that gear ratio, like in the rivers, like where me and Brad like to fish a lot, is if I always wade upstream, and a lot of times I've got an angle on that bait that is coming back, just as fast or maybe a little faster than the current. Mm-hmm. And with that line pickup, it allows you to keep that bait running really well on a long cast. You got a quick pickup, and you can overcome the speed of the current by reeling it, fairly easy if you got a lower gear ratio in it. So I love to wait up or move up and fish back downstream toward me.
Yeah. I always like hearing about everybody, how different they fish chatterbaits on their rivers, because here, I live in Ohio, southwest Ohio, so our river down here is like a really deep, slow-moving river. And it seems like I can't get them to bite a chatterbait when the water's clear, but when it's dirty, it's on.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's completely different for you guys when you're out on the New River or the Susquehanna, where they bite it all the time. Yeah.
No, they hit it really well in muddy water too, around the rivers up here. I'm usually throwing a spinnerbait, or I'm usually throwing another bait during really high water events on the New River. The spinnerbait it's just got a lot of thump, and that muddy water just seems to do really good. Now on the Susky, I still throw a chatterbait when it's up and muddy, and it works great. But it's kind of a bait for all season. Man, when the water temperature hits, I think the coldest that I've done well with a chatterbait was 48 degrees. I think that was.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wow. Yeah. On the New River, I have seen smallmouth spawning in the mid 50s. Mm-hmm. And on a lot of other rivers, they wait until the water's warmer. And using a chatterbait upstream, downstream seems to work for me on those rivers. But there is a time when I will position upstream and fish it downstream, and that's when I take like 1.25 ounce chatterbait, and I'll put like a 5 or even a 7-inch big jerk shad on it, and get at the base of these dams like on Wilson or in Chattanooga there at Chick, at the base of those dams. I'll throw downstream and just yank it and let it sit, and yank it and let it sit, and yank it and let it sit, and you can pull some big smallmouth up doing that, using that technique in there. But I either use a 3/8 or 1.25 ounces. Very rarely will I go to a 1/2 ounce. I will sometimes, it calls for it, but 99% of the time I'm using that 3/8.
Interesting.
What, Brad, where do you sit with that? Were you in the 1/2 ounce or your 3/8 too?
I got 1/2 ounce and 3/4. I don't think I've ever thrown 1.5 ounces or 1.25 ounces.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we jump into we were just talking here. Line, Brad, what do you generally go with for line? Like, are you doing braid? Do you guys do mono? Do you do coal polymer? Like, where are we sitting here? Fluorocarbons?
Just 12-pound fluoro for me.
Yeah.
I know I could probably go heavier. A lot of guys actually throw 20, but I don't know. I just always stuck with 12 because, like I said, our multi-purpose rods that we use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I use a 16-pound fluoro. I use the 16-pound Gamma because it's actually rated for 20-pound, but it has a smaller diameter.
It's break strength. I think
Yeah,
I've read that. Yeah.
So I get a little better cast out of it with that smaller diameter, but I still get that great break strength. Now there's times down here in Florida where I will throw braid. If I'm working dark stained tannic water and I'm throwing in pads with grass or lots of things for that chatterbait, once they hit it, they can run straight into something. Because a lot of times I'll be like fishing small holes way back in grass. I mean, if I see it back there and it's just an open spot, I'm going to throw it. Hook them first, worry about getting them out later. And if you're getting those pads and stuff, that a 30-pound braid will cut like a razor blade. It'll cut them pads. It'll sever a pad stem. I mean, just like that. So there's times, and a lot of people, they like the braid because of the sensitivity of it. But for me, it's mostly just the strength and being able to get that fish out of those heavy cover areas that I like to fish down here. But I don't think I've ever used it in any other situation than being down south.
I'll be honest with you. I stick with I've done fluorocarbon. I've played around with some cold polymer, but for me, I'll be honest with you. I go with the braid. Braid is what, for me, it's what I use. It's what works. And when I run multi-purpose techniques, I find braid is just easy, because if I need to run a leader, that's not a problem. But for most of the time, like I don't generally run a leader on any of the reaction stuff, and if I need to switch baits, it's just a quick change, and that's just a personal preference of mine.
Whatever works for you, man.
Yeah,
that's what you go with.
And but yeah, 30-pound braid, you could definitely
you slice your finger open with that.
Oh, you definitely could, but
I've
like
done that plenty of times.
You talk about the pads, though. I'm telling you, you can definitely slice through the pads with that and grass, whatever you need. But now, trailers. Like, you guys got some favorite trailers here. Like, I know Jody was talking about that. The jerk shad. The jerk shad is definitely one that I definitely have. I'll run. I just like that slender profile of it. I generally go the 4 or the 5-inch, depending on where I'm going with it. But if I really want to slow it down, diesel minnows or the Dubro rump shaker is another minnow style paddle tail. But yeah, what about you guys?
Go ahead, Brad.
I like the chatter spike for most of my time, but I've also used the Z-Man turbo crawls, especially when it's super muddy, just because you get the 2 kickers going on at the same time. I've always wanted to try the jerk shads on the back of mine. Just when the time comes, I'm out there and I'm just like, I forget about it.
Yeah.
But the jerk shad's always been.
The only time I use that jerk shad is in situations where I want a big giant bait on the back of it. Like I say, I use a big one, and people look at that rig and they's like, well, how are you going to catch a fish on that? Because you got this little chatterbait up here and you got that big long, but they eat it. They will eat it.
Oh yeah.
And it makes your bait act a lot more funny. But my favorite, I really, really love the diesel minnows. I love the regular minnows. Like today, they're in kind of a funk right now because of this cold weather. And a lot of times when you're getting skin hooks, pre-spawn, post-spawn, they're just hitting real funny cold front conditions, getting a lot of fish pulling off. I'll go to a minnows because it's a little bit smaller, but it's got a fatter boot tail on it. And if I think I need to have a little less, if the water's a little cooler, I can trim both sides of it down. But the size of that bait in this time of the year, it can make a big difference in getting that fish to actually hook up. because they're not just grabbing the tail. You know what I mean? The tail sits up closer to the skirt, and if they're going after that thump and they see that tail inside that skirt and they're going after that, a lot of times they're going to get the hook. Now, if I'm throwing a diesel minnow and they're hitting short like that, then that's what I do. I'll shorten it up. But now sometimes it can be a color thing too. If you're getting lots of bites, but you're not, you can feel that stretch. You can tell when they grab the tail because it goes, it gets real stretchy. Sometimes that can be a color thing too. But it's not a big, hard thing to figure out because there's only about 5 or 6 colors that I'll ever throw, pretty much. There's some specialty colors that I'll throw. I'll throw like a pink up on Saginaw Bay or something like that. But most of the time it's that green pumpkin and a bluegill pattern, a crawdad pattern, shad pattern, and there's a couple that I'll do little tweaks to, but that's about it. I was having a problem down on the Caddo with that, and they were just, they were hitting it. It felt like they were hitting it hard, but they just wasn't getting the bait. And all I did was change the color, man, and they just started eating it. So, I guess, and it wasn't really matching the hatch either. So, it was just something that they wanted to see something a little different in it. They loved that vibration, but they just didn't like something about it,
I was going to say though, that the minnows, that 3-inch on it, like that tail, it's so true though. Like when you talk about that bait and you think of like that striking at the back of like, cause I've noticed that too, like with the jerk shads, they'll come in and they'll take the back of it and you can feel like you feel it take, but it's really that bait's just getting stretched out.
Yeah.
Where that
it's real cold water. I'll throw that razor shad a lot too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got a real tight wiggle to it. Man, they love it.
I haven't played I remember I purchased some of the chatter spikes.
Yeah.
And those to me were just like, when I saw that bait, I was like, that just seems like a kind of like that perfect smallmouth bait. Like it just like something they can just really inhale. And opposed to and I'm sure that the 5-inch like diesel minnows and all that, but that minnows bait, when you shrink that down to 3-inch there, and it's just like it's inhaled, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
they're gonna hit the bait. And, there's other ones out there that I like. I always did like the Zacco and that's a great one. There's several out there. It's just that I got tired of tearing them off my hook and replacing them. I mean, the last tech, man, it just lasts so long, and when you go through as many casts as I do and as many fish as I catch throughout the year, that can get really expensive. So I stick with the last tech, when I can.
Oh, for sure. Like you look at, I'm sure you probably look at your baits. If you were to, have a package of another brand that, wasn't a Laz Tech, how many would you go through on 1,000 casts a day?
Yeah, really.
Like how much more do you have to bring out with you? How many times you got to go back to the ramp? How much more money do you got to run to another, like tackle shop to, draw it out, because that's the bait that's probably going to do it.
Exactly.
The Elastec is, and I always say this, like I've said this to many people, like when they're like, like I'm kind of getting into fishing, like I'm kind of looking for, what kind of bait, like what would you? And I always say, man, like if you're an angler on a budget or whatever, like Z-Man, you're gonna get like the lifetime out of those packages. Like it's crazy, like
for sure. And they're worms and. That new thick stick, man, it's tearing. That thing is great. I love it. The mag fatties, the fatties, all that stuff, that they just last so much longer. But they make great baits. I'm almost exclusively Z-Man right now. I use
same
Pro
here.
rock crawlers. Yep.
Now, we've kind of covered it now where we've gone for trailers. Do you guys do any scenting at all on your chatterbaits or anything like that? Or do you soak baits, or you got any marinating practices that you do with your Elastex or anything like that?
I
I've
don't.
never. Mm-mm.
No.
No, I've actually. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the KVD fish sticks, little tube stuff.
Yeah.
I've put that on my chatterbaits from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you
Liquid
if it makes a
mayhem.
difference or not.
Yeah. I don't know I mean, it may, and I probably should, because, it's probably not going to hurt it. It's just that having that in my boat and spraying it and stinks, and I don't.
Fair
Yep.
enough. I always wondered that,
Yeah, if I can't tell a big difference in it, it's not really a major thing for me. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't do it.
Yeah.
So when you look at chatterbaits as a whole, and you're going into a river system, and you talked about all the different bait presentations that a chatterbait does. Like you're talking minnows, you're talking crawdads. When you get into that crawdad presentation and you're beginning to wind that thing through, you're the way that you're actually presenting it. So and this could be, we're kind of going maybe even back to this muddy water, dirty water situation. You're talking about the helicross, even the bat wings is another great, is one of another great trailer that I love as a craw presentation. How do you guys present that? How do you use that approach? Are you hopping it across the bottom, winding it? How do you do it?
I mean, I do a lot of yo-yoing with it, reel and stops, bust the rocks. If you see a big rock, bust that rock wide open. I mean, and then stop it, kill it, pull it back up, reel it, stop it, kill it. Just mix it up. For me, because you're mostly in rocks, and those chatterbaits, they do real good in rock. And I mean, you're going to bust the paint off the heads of them, but that trailer's still going to get them.
Oh,
the color of the skirt and the trailer, that's what's going to get them. The color of that head ain't going to matter much.
Do you find that Brad and I were kind of chatting about this too, painted blades opposed to blades that are, your silver gold? Do you prefer painted blades over epoxy painted blades over those other ones?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I got given the situation, but I like it's one of those things that I think that just comes down to a preference. You know what I mean? Like where you look at the all blacks or even the whites and stuff like that. It's kind of even going back to spinner baits. Do you think spinner baits are gonna make their way back up into river fishing? You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a lot of guys who still throw them, but it seems to me to be that the chatterbait kind of, like we were talking before, it's kind of taken its
the chatterbait revolution. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Brad does too. I mean, there's times when I just love throwing a spinnerbait, man. I mean, there's things you can do, the speed. I'll throw a big giant number 5 Hildebrand on a sling blade or on a War Eagle, and just and it's just got that big slow thump, and in muddy water or stained water, those smallmouth, they just love it, man. I'll be fishing around logs and stuff, and if I got a big number 5 blade on there, I'll just throw it over the log and let it sink straight down, and they'll hit it on the drop. So I still love throwing the spinnerbait, and there's always going to be a place for spinnerbait in my tackle box for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you mentioned War Eagle. That's one of my favorites, but there's also another one that I use by Jig Masters, just an all black skirt with this massive black Indiana blade. I mean, it is awesome for muddy water.
Yeah. 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 Warrior makes a great spinnerbait for sure.
Yep, I love their stuff.
Yeah, their finesse series spinnerbait there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's that I always have that one.
Yeah, those finesse ones are good too.
Yeah, like it's just a smaller presentation, but like it's still not a lot of companies make, finesse style spinnerbaits. But yeah, like that's I don't know. I always think about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you look at, what will be the next bait that will, replace, more of your tackle box. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of, I'm sure guys who just use Z-Man products probably notice the difference in it, in it all.
Just somebody raided my refrigerator.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh no, what's going on?
That's Abby. Say hi, Abby.
What's going on, man? He's quiet to the spinnerbait talk.
That's his quiet.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, he's good, man. No, we're all good, dude. You ain't doing nothing.
No, it's all good. If you want to come on and chat, chatterbaits too, you're always welcome.
Yeah. He's the other chatterbait guy, dude. We wear them out, man. We just wear them out. I'll tell you what, we kind of touched on it, but a chatterbait, I've talked to people who on the water who say, man, I still haven't caught nothing on a chatterbait. Still haven't caught nothing on a chatterbait.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But a chatterbait is a commitment. If you're going to throw a chatterbait, and I was teaching my grandson this, and you notice it right off. I mean, somebody like Brad or me or Abby or you that throws a chatterbait a lot, it's that constant throw, reel, chuck line. And my grandson, he was just learning, and the first thing that I picked up on was he would throw it out and he'd reel it, and he'd look around, he'd throw over here and he'd reel it. Chatterbait is a speed bait. That bait is made to cover water, and Abby and I both we work on this adage that no matter where you're fishing at any given time on any lake, there's a chatterbait bite somewhere on that lake. You may not find it every time, but somewhere on that body of water, there's going to be a chatterbait bite. You just got to find it, and people get frustrated. They get frustrated with it, and I just
blows my mind, man.
Huh?
That blows my mind.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's these guys that pick them up out of the package and aren't into like casting. They're not going to do as well.
Do you think that I feel this way about numerous baits is because do you feel like social media and like YouTube just makes it so easy for like you could go and type in, gonna catch, want to go fishing, river smallmouth, top baits, and it would throw up, and chatterbait, and you're like, oh, you see some guy catching a chatterbait. So you're like, he used this one. I'll go buy this one. And you go out there and you start chucking it.
Yeah.
And you're like, like you're so set that it's going to work that you're not actually paying attention to what you're doing. Instead, you're just getting lost in the algorithm of being sold a bait. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the internet's good for that, but the internet is also good for taking the time to say, okay, I'm going to use a chatterbait. Let me find the information out there of people who use
100%.
it. So we got this podcast going on right now. Anybody can come on this podcast and ask Brad a question, hey, what about this? And find out that information, So for everybody, it sells one of those chatterbaits and they get, upset because they're not catching fish. There's a reason for it, but there's also a fix on the internet. So 100%. You have all that out there. The information is there. You just got to take the time to dig it up.
Yeah, I just, it's one of the things that, I feel is seen out there a lot is that, you take a bait and you go out there, and it's true. You got to put the time in. Like you got to really understand it. You got to feel it. And I think, even like the first couple times I remember going out with a chatterbait, after a couple casts, I was like, oh, I wasn't catching anything, but I stuck to it. It got to the point where I didn't even cut it off, like it was just like, here's the chatterbait. It's stuck on. And, but once you get to understand the workings of it, just like any other presentation, you become proficient at it. And next thing you know, it's like that becomes something that you are generally
it's like
confident with. And
it's like Brad was saying a while ago. Brad, you said that you use a 3/4 ounce.
Yeah, when I'm fishing reservoirs or something.
Yeah. So how do you throw that 3/4 ounce? And I mean,
I usually cast it out there, deeper water.
Deeper water, right?
Yeah, like if there's grass on the bottom, there's a reservoir here where it's like 30 to 40 feet deep. I'll let it drop down and I'll, jerk it through that grass.
Right. But it's still grass. You just got to get down to it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've never used one that way. See, so that teaches me something, because like I was saying, like Abby and I, we throw a 3/8. We never throw anything else hardly. It's very rarely. Yeah. I'll pick up a 1/2 ounce.
But you even taught us something regarding that. Was it 1.25 ounces? I believe.
Yeah. Like, you can take an ounce
with that big jerk shot on the end of that. I never would have thought like.
Yeah, and the reason why is in that situation that how the base of these dams, man. I mean, you got 15, 20 foot of water, and they're pushing, thousands of cubic feet per second. I mean, that water's moving, so you got to have that way to get down there. So why not use a chatterbait? Got that nice blade on there and a nice vibration. You can throw a big bait on the back of it. And,
I think the other person I'd seen talking about the 7-inch jerk shad, and YouTube might know where I'm going with this, is Jeff Little. I've seen quite a few posts where he's been like, he has like I don't know, like an Evo or a jackhammer, and then there's like 5 inches of bait behind this thing. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, I will tell you, Jeff and I fishing together is where I picked it up. I picked it up from Jeff. Just started using it in a different way. But he'll use it in 18 inches of water on a 3/8 ounce.
Crazy.
Yeah. Over the last couple of years, I've started to throw those diesel minnows, the 7-inch ones, and smallmouth are eating those up on a 10-inch or a 10-aught beast hook.
Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised what those things. They're apex predators in there. I mean, them and in the new, I think the muskie might be the apex predator, but they're still predators in their own right. They're at the top of the food chain there. They're feeding on everything else.
Yep.
Yeah, they're hungry fish, and they're awesome to catch.
My favorite.
What a better way to go out there and catch them on a chatterbait.
Yes, sir.
This is why I thought this is such a great topic for a podcast. That being, chatterbait fishing, especially for river smallmouth. River fishing is definitely a passion of mine. And as for my guests here tonight, they are definitely both very proficient in it. And if anybody throws a jackhammer or a chatterbait, Jody Queen is obviously topping in the amount of times he's using one in the year on all the lakes, on a tournament angle, and recreational to however you get out there. If you haven't tried a chatterbait, well, it's definitely time to try one. And like, Jody brought up a really good point too. Like, the internet does share a lot of information. Social media does. And sometimes it's just going out there and actually sticking with it that will actually get you a little more proficient with the bait. But yeah, no, to the both of you, Brad Hicks and Jody Queen, thank you very much for stopping by the River Run podcast. And I'm
sorry I was late, dude.
No worries, man. It's all good. Brad and I were like, well, we'll roll with this. This is good. And I'm like, Jody, you just join whenever you're ready, man. And I get it, and you know what? And this is why I take I appreciate both of you for coming on and taking the time. Life's busy, and whether you're dealing with family stuff or you're down trying to get the fishing going. I know we spoke earlier in the week about that with your picking up Abby, but yeah, no, definitely appreciate both of you for coming on the podcast, and hopefully we can chat this over again. I like these type of open conversations and whatnot, but the River Run podcast, you know where to find it. YouTube, check it out. Spotify, we are there. Instagram, and you can find both Brad Hicks and Jody Queen on Instagram, social media following on Facebook and whatnot. Check them out, and till the next time, guys. I look forward to doing this one more time. This is the
thanks for having me, Adam.
Hey, anytime, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks. And hey, hopefully we'll get down the Scupper Hole one more time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget, for future shows, like, follow, share, and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out our individual channels and accounts too. Want to be a guest on one of our shows and talk of adventures, gear, or products? Contact us. Thank you for watching The Noob Show with Matt Gibson, Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols, The Rusty Hook with John Rapp, The River Run with Adam Fraser Pross, May Contain Fishing with Daniel Woodcock, Chasing the 20s with Carlisle Esterly and Sean Lavery, Friday Night Bites with Brian Schiller. Thanks for tuning into the Paddle and Fin Network. Subscribe and always wear your PFD.